Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for coming. My name is Jonathan Nolan. I'm the Director of Developer Relations here at Atlassian Software, and I'd like to welcome you to our 5th Plugin of the Month webinar. This month we're featuring Chris Kohlhardt of Gliffy. Gliffy is a terrific plugin for Confluence that a company we've been working with for a few years, and they've just announced a new plugin for Jira as well. So we're going to hear a little bit about both of those today. In case you're, okay, there you go. So this series of webinars is a monthly series that we started back in the fall to demo some of the most exciting plugins that we have in our community and let you get to know the authors a little bit of some of these plugins. We've got over 400 plugins and extensions. Most of them are free and open source, and most of them have been donated by the community. And we also have a small but growing number of commercial plugins, and Gliffy is an example of the latter. There are more than 250 people in our developer network, people who've actually committed code to one of these plugins. And if you're interested in finding out more about the developer network, then please go to Atlassian.com/developers, or you can reach me at jonathan@atlassian.com. So as you can see here, Chris is based in San Francisco. He's lived here since 1995, and you know, we first met him in our San Francisco office, I guess about a little less than 3 years ago. From Northern California, went to SF State, and got a degree in computer science. He's an avid biker. I've seen him around San Francisco, up and down the hills, in all sorts of crazy weather. And he spent some time with Laszlo Systems, who developed a Flash-based authoring tool to help develop rich internet applications at the very beginning of that sort of transition a few years ago. So he's got some great experience with those sorts of technologies, and that is, as you'll see, is what led him to develop Gliffy. And with that, I'll turn it over to Chris and let him start the demo of the Gliffy plugin for Confluence and Jira.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining, and thanks, Jonathan, for the great intro. I'm going to just start up right here and give you a demo of our Confluence plugin. So here we have a typical Confluence page that you might see. So I'm going to set up a scenario here whereby we're developing a new piece of software. We're doing a lot of documentation in Confluence, and in this case, we're going to have some documentation about a login process. So this is all text right now, and describing flows in text can be a little bit challenging sometimes. So we think we can make this a lot better by adding a diagram. So with Gliffy, we just have to go to the Add menu over here on the right, click on Diagram. Just going to type the name of the diagram, and then we're going to launch the editor. So the Gliffy editor is completely within your web browser, so there's no additional downloads required at all. And I think that's a big deal, because if you have a product such as Microsoft Visio, you're going to have to deploy that on all of your end-user desktops. But with Gliffy, the cool thing about it is that if you've ever installed a plugin in Confluence, it's really easy. It's really just a few clicks. It's very quick. And then you're instantly able to deploy Gliffy to all of the users that are using Confluence. So it's a really effective deployment mechanism as well. So this is the Gliffy editor, and it's going to look really familiar to a lot of desktop applications you've seen already that allow you to create diagrams and drawings. So I'm just going to browse to the flowchart menu on the left, and since we're making a login process, I'm going to just start dragging and dropping flowchart shapes over here, and just start describing the flow of the process. And as you can see, it's a lot like a desktop application, but it's all within your web browser. So I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this. I think you're getting the idea pretty quickly. So, you know, you can start dragging shapes over here, and just like any other program, You can create relationships using the connect tool. So you get the picture. And if you want to do things like change the colors of the shapes, you can do that as well. We've got lots of different options for that. Drop shadows, gradient fills, etc. When you're done with your drawing, you just have to click the Back to Confluence button and confirm that you'd like to save your changes. And this is going to drop us right back into Confluence. And then you can see how the diagram is embedded directly inside the Confluence page. So as you can see, it's a great way to add visual documentation to your wiki pages very quickly with not a lot of effort. So I'm going to go back to our slideshow here. Let's see here. Oh, okay. So how much does it cost? Oftentimes a lot of people will compare our product to the cost of Microsoft Visio. And keep in mind, when you deploy Gliffy in Confluence, all of your Confluence users get it. So compared to Visio on a per user basis, we think Gliffy is a really good value. So here are a few examples of different. Here, I've actually put this in full screen mode. Here are a bunch of different examples of different types of drawings you can make with Gliffy. This is a business process modeling notation diagram, obviously used for describing business processes. This is a big feature request to add this symbol library by our users, and so we actually added this in the beginning of this month for Confluence. Here's a UML diagram, which is used for documenting software development or software architecture. This is a SWOT analysis diagram. A lot of business development type of people like to use this kind of drawing to evaluate the state of the business. It's a great little exercise to go through. This is another flowchart that you've already seen, but completed. This is a floor plan of a nice little Victorian in San Francisco. Here's a wireframe of a web application. I'll show you another example of this later. Here's a technical drawing of a engineering process. Here's a network drawing, obviously helpful for describing what your server room might look like, or what your different server rooms, I guess. And finally, here's an org chart. So you can see there's a lot of different types of drawings you can make with Gliffy. As Jonathan mentioned, we have a new product. It's the Gliffy plugin for Jira. We actually just released this on Monday. And so I'm going to show you how that works real quick. We're back on our Confluence page, but I actually created a link down here for related Jira issues to this particular flow. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to drop us into our Jira instance. And so this particular Jira issue is actually to build the login box. So you can see here there's the Add Gliffy Diagram link on the left. I'm going to click that. It's going to drop us right into the Gliffy editor. And we're going to name this login dialog box. And just like the Gliffy plugin for Confluence, we have a large array of shapes to choose from. But in this case, we're going to click or select user interface shapes. And we're going to drag a dialog box on here, because that's what we're making. And I'm going to drag a few text boxes over here for the username and password. And just line these up real quick. And also, we want to add a checkbox for whether or not this is a secure login. And if we don't want the checkbox selected, I can uncheck that over there. And then, of course, we need a submit button. And that's our login box. Make it a little bit more conform to the side. So now that we're done with this, I'm just going to click back to Jira again, click Save, and this is going to drop us back into Jira. And now we have an attachment to the Jira issue, which is the login dialog box. I can actually click on this, and it's going to show us the full screen image. And you can see how this would come in handy if you are developing a new piece of software, and you need to either describe the flow or describe the architecture using a UML diagram, or if you need to describe more clearly what you had in mind in terms of what the visuals would look like. You can do all that with the Gliffy plugin for Jira. So that is that. If I can get us back into the presentation. And again, the cost of the Gliffy plugin for Jira is a really good value when compared to Microsoft Visio. And just like in the Confluence plugin, once you deploy it, it's available to all your users. So it's a really great option. So a little bit more about Gliffy. We were founded by myself and my business partner Clint Dixon here in San Francisco. I guess Jonathan actually covered this. We actually originally built an online version, which is a software as a service at our website. So that's a subscription model. But pretty soon after, as Jonathan mentioned, I met Jonathan and one of the co-founders of Atlassian, Mike Cannonbrook. And they were really encouraging about the potential to build a plugin for Confluence, so we did that. And now we just released the Jira plugin because we really like working with Atlassian. So we're pretty excited. You might be wondering how we're doing in this current economic climate. And the good news is we're actually doing pretty good. We are a small company, but we're very stable. It turns out December was the best month ever for us, and it wasn't just December, but the entire fourth quarter, which you might find surprising considering all the news you heard going on in the world economic situation. So we're not going anywhere. We're very stable, and we've got a lot of new stuff planned in the future. So it's pretty exciting for us. If you want to go and give either the Gliffy plugin for Jira or the Gliffy plugin for Confluence a try, you can just head on over to our website, and actually whenever you install either of these products, you get an instant free 45-day trial. So there's really no obligation at all to try it out. So definitely encourage you to ask your system administrator to install either of these plugins to give them a try and just see if they work out for you. Lastly, we never give out discounts, but since we released a new product, we thought it would be appropriate. So if you're interested in the Gliffy plugin for Jira, we're actually offering a 10% discount if you mention this discount code when you make your purchase. So you might want to jot that down real quick. And this offer does expire on March 15th of 2009, but take advantage of it while you have the chance. So we hope you give it a try, and hopefully we can have a great experience for you. And I guess with that, we open it up to questions.
Sure. So one of the things I was going to start with, while I take a look at some of the audience questions, was I know that some of the people listening to these podcasts are often plugin developers themselves. So I was hoping you could talk a little bit about the technology you used to develop this plugin, both on the front end and the back end.
Sure. On the server side, we use Java. And it worked out for us because our software as a service model product was already developed in Java. So deploying this in Confluence and Jira, which are also built in Java, was pretty straightforward. So there's not a whole lot to that other than getting that to work. On the client side, this version of Gliffy is built in OpenLazlo. Jonathan mentioned that it's a development tool that actually renders the end result in Flash. And so that's the way that's built today. But there may be some changes to that in the future. But definitely check out OpenLazlo as a development platform if you're looking to build a rich internet application. It's similar to Flex by Adobe, if you're familiar with that.
So, I mean, I think I know the answer to this question already, but given the rapidly advancing state of in-browser technologies, particularly modernizing JavaScript libraries, would you still advise people to look at rich internet application technology as opposed to native browser stuff?
So you mean using something like OpenLazlo or Flex versus DH2ML/JavaScript?
Exactly.
I think it really depends on the product that you're building. I think there are certain advantages that Flash brings to the table. A few of them include there's a native binary communications protocol built into Flash that is a lot more efficient than HTTP. And so if you're doing any server-side communication, it's going to be faster. Also, the fact that you only have to develop in a single known development environment, which is Flash, makes it a lot easier to actually build stuff. So you don't have to worry about, does it work in IE 8 or IE 7? That problem doesn't even really come into question anymore, or not very often. So,
and that's certainly a pretty big advantage.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a good number of questions from the audience. The first one's pretty easy, but where does Gliffy, or where did the name Gliffy come from?
So Gliffy is actually a play on words of the word glyph, as in like hieroglyphs or something like that. So the idea is it's basically about symbols. So we thought that was appropriate for this product.
Okay, perfect. Let's see. All right, so there's a questioner who's interested in how the graphics libraries get updated. When do you add new ones? Do you ever upgrade them outside of the main upgrades of the plugin?
Right. So today, the only way you can add new graphics libraries is if we actually do it. So you're kind of dependent on us. The good news is we have a public-facing instance of Jira where if you have a feature request, you can actually log it in our Jira instance. You can find that from our support page, and you can vote on particular shape libraries you'd like us to build. So that's the best way to get new issues into or to get new libraries in is ask for them, and we'll build the ones that people ask for most first. But there's another way you can get your own images in. Both the Gliffy plugin for Jira and the Gliffy plugin for Confluence actually have a image upload feature. So if there's a particular image, I see one user asked if you can add clown faces to the org chart. Yeah, you can definitely do that. You can upload an image, and you'll be able to do that.
Awesome. So I think I know the answer to this one too, but Gliffy is supported in Safari, correct?
That's correct. Safari is my browser of choice, and that's pretty much the only way I use Gliffy.
Great, great. So have you given any thought to making those graphics libraries pluggable in the future once you've got plugin 2 capabilities in all the products?
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
So Atlassian is embarking on this transition from our plugins 1 technology to plugins 2, and one of the major hallmarks of plugins 2 is the ability for plugins to communicate with each other, which we've never been able to do before.
Right.
So I can imagine, I'm imagining not really knowing how the Flash stuff works, so it may be too late at this point, but if it would be possible for you to publish a plugins format that is just a document, or sorry, a object library that then the Gliffy plugin could possibly read.
And this would be so that end users could add their own image libraries, for example?
Exactly, yeah.
So it turns out, and I kind of alluded to this earlier, we're we're kind of at the end of the line for the current user interface of the Gliffy client right now. And this 2009 for us is largely about really completely overhauling and redesigning our user interface to improve it. And that's one of the features we're considering adding in. That's definitely been something we've heard from a lot of people, is they want to be able to add their own symbol library. So that's definitely something that will be on the list of potential things to be in there. If it's not in there by the end of this year, it'll come shortly thereafter, I think.
Awesome. That's really good news. Okay, let's see. Next question. All right. Is there a way to connect a Gliffy diagram to some sort of back-end source, like a database or a spreadsheet, that would feed information in?
Currently, that isn't really possible. However, we are actually working on an API for Gliffy right now, and that's something. Currently, the API only works with our hosted service, but we'll probably extend that to the other products as well. So it will be something that will be possible in the future. I think it's definitely not ready today to do that kind of stuff, but probably I don't know. I'm being optimistic here, but maybe in 6 months to a year, that will be something that is possible.
Very cool. Okay, next question from the audience. They're wondering if you can have a hyperlinked diagram such that if you click on one area of the diagram, it brings up a new diagram with more detail. Yeah.
Right. So links are definitely possible. The linking mechanism is pretty straightforward. You basically add wherever there's a piece of text in your Gliffy document, you highlight that text in the editor, and then there's a link button that you select, and then you can enter where that link points
to. Cool. Okay, and so now we have a couple questions about import and export. So the first is someone wondering if there's an automated way to convert a video diagram to Gliffy, and then the second part of that is once you've got something in Gliffy, in what ways can you export that?
Right. So it turns out that so importing Visio documents is actually the #1 feature request. If you go out to our Jira instance, you'll see that a lot of people are asking for that. It also turns out that's probably the most challenging thing for us to build. But we are. I will say that we're looking into it. We've actually talked to some potential partners that could possibly help us out to make that possible. We don't have it. I can't really say when we'll have it, but we're definitely looking into it, and it's something we're gonna try and solve because we understand how important it is, how vitally important that is to both our customers and to our business, to be honest.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. Confluence obviously found itself in a very similar position, and so that's why we went out and acquired and are now shipping the Office connector to allow people to get Word documents more easily into Confluence. But as Chris mentioned, it's a hard problem, and Microsoft doesn't make dealing with their document formats particularly easy.
Right, right. The second question is can documents be exported? Absolutely. Currently, you can export your documents in either PNG, JPEG formats, or I think the other version is SVG, which is a vector format.
Cool. You mentioned earlier that Gliffy you can upload images to Gliffy and then insert those into your diagrams. What formats does it accept?
Actually, I want to add one more thing to the last question.
Oh, sure.
I just remembered something. It turns out if you export your diagrams as SVG, Visio will actually read those. So you can actually, Visio can read Gliffy diagrams. We just don't have the other way around solved yet. And then currently, your other question, what image formats can be uploaded? Currently, only JPEGs can be uploaded. Was that the question you asked?
Yes.
That's what I'm looking at.
Yep, that's exactly it.
Currently, only JPEG images can be uploaded, but once we get what we're calling the Gliffy 2.0 client out, other formats will also be supported as well.
Awesome. So I think that's probably all we're going to have time for today. But I want to thank you very much for coming, and I'm going to scroll down to the next page. And there are a couple of addresses here, so if you need to get in touch with me or with Chris, here are our email addresses. I'll remind you again about Atlassian.com/developers. If you are interested in developing a plugin or you're interested in finding more about plugins that are already out there in the library, please go there. And also, I'll point you at Atlassian.com/TV. This webinar will be archived there in a couple of days, and you could also go back and watch all the previous webinars in this series and our other series like Voice of the Customer and some other interesting one-off videos. Which reminds me, actually, one of the series that we're running right now are all of the videos from Atlas Camp, which was our developer conference that we held back in November. So if you're interested in finding out more about what happened at Atlas Camp, you can go to Atlassian.com/TV and watch the videos now. I'll do a brief plug for the upcoming webinars. February 12th, we've got Peter Reiser from Sun, and February 18th, we've got Nicholas Peters from Accenture. Both of those are in our Voice of the Customer series. And then our next plug of the month will be February 25th, so almost a month from now, with Peldy from Balsamic. And so all those are going to be exciting webinars that I think will be really interesting. And if you take a look at Atlassian.com/about/events, you can find that list at any time, and I'm sure we've got a feed that you can subscribe to. And then Morgan at Atlassian.com is the gentleman who's in charge of these events and these webinars. And if you have any questions, or if you know somebody you think would be great for us to interview who would like to participate, please get in touch with Morgan. And with that, I think that's all we'll do today. So Chris, thank you very much for coming. I appreciate it. Sorry. One more slide. Yes. So Atlas Summit, I mentioned Atlas Camp, which was our developer conference back in November. Atlas Summit is our user-focused conference that we're doing, our first one ever this May and the beginning of June. It'll be in San Francisco. It costs about $650 to attend. This is actually just before Java 1, so if you're a Java developer and want to kill two birds with one stone, you can hit both conferences in just 1 week. And we're running 3 major tracks. There'll be a track about collaboration, which obviously is going to focus on Confluence. There'll be a track about development tools and development methodologies, and that's going to focus on Jira and Bamboo and Crucible and Clover and all their brethren. And then finally, there'll be a plugins track where it'll have similar content as to what we had at Atlas Camp. So it's going to be about developers who are building on top of our applications. So Chris will be there, as well as lots of other people from our community, commercial plugin developers, and it'll be a great community of really interesting brains to pick. So if you're interested in finding out more, go to Atlassian.com/summit for more information. And now I think that's it. So Chris, thank you very much for coming. Thank you all very much for listening, and we'll see you in a month.